Since the Cold War ended, developing countries like Dominica are in the objective position of where they find themselves without sponsors. We live in a world today in which nation states act in pursuit of their national interests. During the Cold War era, the national interests of many rich countries were enhanced by the economic development of countries such as Dominica. But the national interests of a particular country change as international relations are transformed. The post-Cold War priorities of major countries have changed, and these changes have impacted upon the economy of Dominica. The government of Dominica cannot sit still and in microbe-like fashion wait for something to turn up. This government must take and has taken a proactive role in trying to obtain resources for the development of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been questions raised about economic cooperation with so-called non-traditional sources of capital. The government makes no apology for exploring opportunities to further the interests of Dominicans with any country, as long as we are not a party to or promote any criminal enterprise against any individual or people or country. We will explore every opportunity for bringing resources to Dominica, as long as it does not involve participation in immoral, criminal, or any illegal conduct whatsoever. Dominicans must grow up if independence is to be a reality and take the world as they find it. The truth about the world today is this: there are very few countries out there demonstrating any enthusiasm to be benefactors of Dominica or any country in the region for that matter. This is the reality of international relations, and this stubborn fact cannot be wished away, nor would it change with any other government in Dominica. We are but a small country and cannot determine the outcome of international realpolitik. Moreover, the position of Dominica is not unique by any means. All of our sister countries in CARICOM, to a greater or lesser extent, face the same international problems as Dominica. The best opinion available is that the world will come out of this current recession early next year, and this will no doubt be felt in a positive manner within Dominica. Your government, therefore, will not lose focus. We will not give up. We will continue to negotiate with different countries and institutions for those resources which we believe will make Dominica one of the most successful economic ventures in the world. In the interim, we remain committed to helping the most vulnerable groups in our society. Continuous attention will be given to the remodeling of social programs to assist the poor and less fortunate. It will be difficult, but the government will seek in the next financial year to identify the minimum monthly allowance that will be required to afford poverty-stricken individuals a satisfactory quality of life, ensuring relatively easy access to vital necessities as food, clothing, shelter, and adequate health care. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that economic circumstances are challenging for all categories of workers in our country, but in the spirit of Christianity and brotherly love, those with excess must be prepared and will indeed be asked to bear a little of the burden that will be involved in assisting those at the bottom who do not have the means of helping themselves. National independence in the year 2001 should therefore center on the fostering of a spirit of greater brotherly sisterly love, where those who are fortunate to have surplus resources would consider giving and sharing to make others around them at least comfortable. This ideal ought not to be confined to charitable causes like the Red Cross and Salvation Army, but also in employment practices, where employers should see the security of tenure as an individual as vital and critical to the social and economic well-being of our country. In that regard, I would like on this occasion to appeal to the business community to consider as part of their civic duty the creation of temporary job opportunities for college students and others involved in various aspects of training and human resource development who may need that helping hand to assist with the underwriting of the cost of their studies in the new year. Very shortly, I will be speaking with officials in the Ministry of Finance and Planning to determine what incentive and/or concession can be granted to encourage this undertaking on an annual basis. Fellow Dominicans, friends, and well-wishers, time would not permit me this morning to detail sectoral activities and achievements as I customarily would. I considered it more appropriate on this occasion to set out in simple terms the challenges that we face as a nation and as a civilization, and to reiterate the firm resolve of the government to weather this period of global economic uncertainty through safeguarding the well-being of the most vulnerable in our midst. I, however, could not conclude without highlighting some of the more visible ongoing capital projects which will be continued and intensified in the coming year, and some prospects for the nation. There are certain goals this government has set itself which must and which will be pursued irrespective of what befalls us as a nation and a region. I speak here, for example, of the creation of new housing developments for low and middle income workers, preparation of 69 new lots at Jimmy's, complete with all sites and services infrastructure, is well underway and will be completed in the coming year. Also, we are nearing agreement on a public-private sector project at Hillsborough Gardens near St. Joseph involving the setting down of 240 housing units. In the area of telecommunications, domestic interconnection is a matter of weeks away, and with the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission established and operational, we will pursue in earnest the establishment of call centers and an information communications technology park at Picard near Portsmouth. In order to fulfill a promise made to the business sector several months ago, the Dominica Port Authority and the Customs will announce very shortly arrangements for the continuation of services to port users during the lunch hour. Also, the cry has gone forth relative to the inordinate length of time it takes to process planning and development applications. Again, this is a matter the government can address with nominal capital outlay. Accordingly, we will move with dispatch to introduce the new Physical Planning Act in Parliament, which would, among other things, address concerns of zoning, environmental impact, and building codes. Simultaneously, we will examine the possible merger of the housing and physical planning units, and in particular, energize the Development and Planning Corporation to play a greatly enhanced role in the economic development of the country. Generally, we will ensure that the processes are simplified so that building permits can be more speedily processed, as this has a direct bearing on activities in the construction sector. Of course, civil works in the areas of highway improvement and sea defenses will continue apace thanks to various multinational agencies such as the Caribbean Development Bank, the United States Aid Agency for International Development, and the British government. Education, sports, and youth affairs has been another flagship area of this government over the past 12 months. Time will not permit me to itemize individual achievements, but suffice it to say that the Commonwealth of Dominica has once again taken its rightful place at the forefront of youth and sport development in the sub-region. Additionally, Dominica has made drastic strides in the field of education, not only from the perspective of examination results and curriculum reform, but also in terms of plant improvement, increased accommodation, and the qualitative aspect of our overall education product, including its administration. $1.7 million was spent on school repairs, $2 million on the basic education reform project, and $629,803 on textbooks for our school children. Reference was made earlier of the role of multinational agencies and friendly territories in furthering the economic interests of Dominica. Within recent times, your government, in its continuing bid to promote and enhance the image of Dominica and create a new cultural and economic opportunity, has established diplomatic relations with Ireland, Libya, Ukraine, Costa Rica, Cyprus, and the Kingdom of Norway. This country has maintained active membership of crucial agencies with direct benefits to Dominica, significantly higher than the expenditure associated with the payment of dues and attendance at meetings. The European Union is a classic example of this regard. Information from the National Authorizing Officer for the European Union Development Fund indicates that for the period November 2001 to November 2002, dozens of high-impact programs and projects valued in the excess of $50 million have been approved for the Commonwealth of Dominica. Our organized and professional approach in dealing with this agency has netted us approval for projects related to enterprise development, where a new credit facility of some $3 million will be launched next month, specifically to encourage the development of sustainable private enterprise within rural communities. Funds will be made available to final borrowers through a number of national and community-based credit institutions for the development of both agriculture and non-agricultural businesses. Interestingly, and you should take note of this, up to 50% of the cost of the business loan will be made available as a grant to the final borrower. Additionally, a special credit facility with startup capital of just under $500,000 will be launched before year-end to increase the involvement of vulnerable groups in micro, small, and medium enterprise development. That facility will target, in particular, community associations, cooperatives, groups, and the landless and assetless poor. These are projects negotiated by the government of Dominica to bring maximum benefits to the people of Dominica. Also, in the first quarter of next year, the Ministry of Community Development and Gender Affairs will be launching a $3.5 million targeted program to support displaced banana farmers, farm workers, and their affected communities. Under this EU-funded initiative, short-term employment opportunities will be created at community level for displaced farm workers, while targeted community education and skills training will be implemented within rural communities with a view to facilitating the transition into new and sustainable livelihoods. Fellow Dominicans, in addition to short-term social protection, the government will be implementing a long-term social recovery program, and for this, another $15.5 million have been secured. That program is currently being finalized by a team of local consultants undertaking research into the socio-economic impact of the restructuring of the banana industry. All these programs are being pursued by the government to cushion the impact of the fallout from a declining banana industry. We have not made loud noises about our efforts because we recognize the sensitivity of the topic and the fact that the displaced farmers and their workers would, in the final analysis, be concerned more with the bottom line of what specific assistance would be given than the usual rhetoric associated with effort and intention of politicians. That, my dear people, is the fundamental difference between your new government and the one which preceded it. The economic squeeze is on, but a further $16 million will be set aside in the coming year to boost productivity in the agricultural sector. Investments are approved for the construction of irrigation and drainage systems in targeted areas, inland reception and distribution centers, and numerous farm access improvements. All this is being done to ease the strain on our farmers as we battle the setbacks that have afflicted the banana sector in particular. But not only agriculture will benefit. $15.5 million have been approved for a national ecotourism development program to be launched over the next 6 months and touching several communities across Dominica. Additionally, a targeted fund will be established in the new year by the National Development Foundation of Dominica to increase the involvement of community associations, cooperatives, groups, and individuals in community and ecotourism development. Ladies and gentlemen, a very useful ally in our quest to foster and strengthen relations in major cities has been none other than citizens of Dominica living and working across the diaspora. It is amazing the high regard with which some of our compatriots are held in their respective adopted homelands. And as a government, we welcome the efforts of promoting the interests of Dominica to public and private sector leaders around the world. The goodwill which we enjoy among Dominicans living abroad has served to drastically improve the perception of Dominica in the eyes of the international world. Our once tarnished image has been enhanced, and there are inquiries on a consistent basis from persons who simply have heard of Dominica from a Dominican friend or colleague and who is interested in visiting with a view to investing. While traditionally we have looked to Dominicans living abroad for financial support, particularly as it relates to the repatriation of funds to relatives and friends, there is now also tremendous scope for the transfer of technology and the involvement of overseas-based Dominicans in the economic development of our country. It is the intention of your government to establish as a matter of urgency a returning national secretariat to serve as a one-stop shop facility for processing the concerns and requests of Dominican nationals desirous of returning home on a mostly permanent basis, either to retire or to share their acquired skills, knowledge, expertise in various fields of endeavor. We wish to make returning to Dominica a pleasant and hassle-free experience, and will be seeking the necessary technical assistance from Barbados and other such territories that have progressive and proven incentive packages in place. Those returning nationals, as a distinct entity, will join civil society when we meet as a government with the social partners to devise and schedule suitable programs for the sustainable development of Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, your government does not believe it has a monopoly on ideas and has already started the process of national dialogue and consultation, with a recent consultation involving members of cabinet and civil society. We propose during the coming year, with conditions expected to decline slightly before improving significantly, to meet regularly and keep the social partners abreast and informed about what is taking place nationally, regionally, and internationally, and also to pool resources in charting a course of action for Dominica. The term social partners in this context include the very important trade union movement, whose role is now even more critical in informing and sensitizing members to the realities of today's economic world, where countries must strive earnestly to minimize expenditure and maximize productivity. We call on trade unions to rise to the occasion and approach their duties not in a combative or adversarial manner, but with the protection of jobs and the even development of this country as their primary focus. In this regard, the government undertakes to resist most strenuously any suggestion from whatsoever source of mass dislocation of its workforce. Until such time as private sector-led industries, such as tourism, agriculture, and financial services are robust enough to absorb workers from the public sector, this government will proceed on the basis of guaranteeing workers in the public sector adequate employment. By the same token, however, we would wish that the principle of collective responsibility be applied, whereby workers and their representatives appreciate the challenging economic times in which we are living and the need for restraint in their demands on an already stretched public treasury. Fellow Dominicans, this government is not overwhelmed by the tasks that confront us. We are operating in an era where our fortunes will be determined largely by events external to Dominica, and over which we have little influence and absolutely no control. We will, however, proceed on the basis of guaranteeing each family in Dominica an acceptable standard of living where a safety net is extended around the most vulnerable in our midst. We may not be able to undertake capital-intensive programs at the rate and to the degree that we would like, but the opportunity will be taken to remove bureaucratic hurdles and simplify the process of doing business in Dominica, whereby, whether it is from a private sector perspective or involving interaction with various agencies of government. And so, my dear people, echoing the imperishable words of the late Sir Winston Churchill as he confronted the problem of the very survival of Great Britain in 1940, I say to you today that at this juncture in the life of your new government, I offer nothing but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. I will work hard and drive my ministers to do even more to contain the fallout from the recessionary period in which we find ourselves. I will not hoodwink you or create false illusions. In the coming weeks, I will address you on a regular basis relative to our progress in turning the situation around. I am not overwhelmed by these challenges that confront us, and you have no need to be either. I exhort each and every one of you to join with me in coming together to bend every effort to prepare Dominica for the exciting times that will follow this period of international recession. I am confident that when I speak to you again on an occasion such as this, 1 year from now, that the qualities of courage, hard work, and love of country would have propelled us back into a condition of prosperity. Fellow countrymen, let us renew our resolve on this day of our independence to increase our efforts to ensure that with God's help, that as we return here next year to celebrate the occasion of our national independence, that the international problems which now inhibit the development of Dominica will be overcome, and we will be going forward at a great speed to develop our country and to give every Dominican a better life. On this occasion, I am inspired by the words of that inspired book, the Bible. We are in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9. The translated version reads, "And let us not get tired of doing what is right, for after a while we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't get discouraged and give up." End of quote. It is said, ladies and gentlemen, that a great big oak tree is nothing more than a little knot that held its ground. I say to you today, hold firm, rally around your government on this occasion of national independence, and let us together go forward with a common purpose towards the common goal of making the Commonwealth of Dominica a brighter and better place for us all to live. Happy independence to one and all, and may God bless our beloved country. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. I now invite the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, His Excellency Vernon Rawdon Shaw, to invest with the Medal of the Honor those persons whom honors have been bestowed for rendering meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. Mr. Crispin Anselm Sorrento. For meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the field of public service. The Commonwealth of Dominica, by His Excellency Mr. Vernon Lawton Shaw, Dominica Award of Honor, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to Mr. Crispin Anselm Sorrento, Officer of the British Empire. Whereas for 5 years you have rendered meritorious service as President of the Commonwealth of Dominica and Speaker of the House of Assembly, in which offices you have served as a symbol par excellence of national unity, loyalty, and dignity. And whereas you have given 23 years of dedicated service to the state as a public officer, culminating in your appointment to the post of Financial Secretary, and also served in various capacities at the Caribbean Development Bank, including Vice President Corporate Services and Bank Secretary. And whereas you have served as chairman of various boards, such as the Dominica Agricultural and Industrial Development Bank, Dominica Port Authority, and the National Commercial Bank of Dominica, and also served on various committees, commissions, and working groups in Dominica, the Caribbean Community, and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. And whereas you have been a shining example with respect to community, religious, and family life. Now therefore, I, Vernon Lawton Shaw, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica as aforesaid, by this my warrant, do grant and confer on you the dignity and honor of the Dominica Award of Honor, which I am empowered to bestow on those persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I do further order by this my warrant that you be awarded the Medal of the Honor in recognition of your services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, given under my hand and the public seal of the Commonwealth of Dominica this 3rd day of November, 2001. Reverend Hilaire Mopiti, for meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the field of religion. The Commonwealth of Dominica, by His Excellency Mr. Vernon Lawton Shaw, Dominica Award of Honor, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to Reverend Father Hilaire Mopiti. Whereas you have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica by your unfailing attention to the pastoral needs of our community and the economic well-being of its citizens. And whereas you have assisted in contributing to the social and economic well-being of the people of La Plaine and its environs, by restoring the production of and also the marketing of bay oil, and having established and equipped a woodwork shop known as Itasi, where you train young men in the Viecas area to acquire skills in carpentry, craft, and lathe work thereby affording them the opportunity to be gainfully employed. And having launched and developed a plantation of exotic fruits in 1974, and for the formation of a tropical fruit exchange club.